So, what is the buncher effect in poker? You may be wondering that, and we're going to explain that here today. Uh, we're going to break down this video into 5 categories. What is the buncher effect? We're going to run through an example. We're going to explain why does the buncher effect happen, and then most importantly, how should your strategy change based upon that knowledge, and then we're going to do a few quizzes at the end to check your understanding of that. So, what is the buncher effect? The buncher effect is a card removal concept that simply is when more people have folded in front of you, we can assume that they fold more lower cards compared to higher cards. Therefore, we can assume that the remaining cards that you and your opponents have that have not acted yet will be skewed towards higher ranges. And which means we'll be given more high cards in general, and typically with comes high cards, better hands. All right, in order to visualize this, we're going to look at an example. First, let's check out the open ranges for the button in 2 different situations. First situation, an 8-handed game where it folds to us on the button, which means 5 people had folded ahead of us, and therefore we can presume that those 5 people that folded ahead of us are folding a higher distribution of lower cards than higher cards. And you'll see our opening range is roughly 41% in that situation. Now let's look at a 4-handed game where we're raising first in on the button and only one person has folded ahead of us. Therefore, there's less card removal of those lower cards, and overall the ranges are still wider. Or excuse me, not wider. The ranges overall are weaker, and in this situation we are opening up 45%. So you can see there's a pretty strong 4% difference right there. Okay, just to hammer this home even more, we can look at it in a more visual situation. So this is the 8-handed game. You can see that 5 people have folded ahead of us. Again, presuming they folded more weaker cards because they would have opened if they had higher cards and stronger cards. And then this would be us on the button, which means that all these 3 remaining cards that have not been acted upon are going to be generally stronger ranges than compared to if these players were not at the table at all and we were the first to act. And then this is the 4-handed visualization. You can see only one person is acting in front of us. So there's not as much information given to us, and we would be opening up wider in a situation like this compared to the 8-handed, where we want to be opening up tighter because of the people who folded ahead of us. Okay, so why does this happen? How does this work? We'll break it down real simply. When more people fold before you, we can assume that they fold more lower cards than higher. That's basic strategy. Everyone who plays poker follows those rules. Generally speaking, higher cards are better, of course, not straight up, but in general, people are going to play more higher cards than lower cards. So there's a higher distribution of high cards left amongst the remaining hands when more people have folded ahead of you. Meaning the remaining hands that have not been acted on are going to be stronger. The remaining ranges are going to be stronger. So this is the most important slide. How does your strategy change? You want to tighten up when more players have folded before you because the remaining ranges are all going to be stronger. So you need to open up with a stronger range yourself. You want to loosen up your opening range when less players have folded before you because there's no card removal effects or less card removal effects. Also, it's important to note that this does not just apply to raising first in, this also applies to defending. So you need to adjust your defending ranges accordingly. Assuming your opponents are adjusting their opening ranges, it's important to try to pay attention to if you think they're doing that or not. So that's the basic premise of the buncher effect. It's a pretty simple concept once you get it. but it definitely has big ramifications. We're going to do 2 quizzes here to check your understanding. So first quiz here. Which range opens tighter? A low jack raised first in a 6-handed game, or a low jack raised first in a 9-handed game, assuming it folds to you in the low jack position. I'll give you a second to think. You can pause the video if you need to. Okay. The correct answer is a low jack raised first in the 9-handed game. The reason for this is there was 3 people that folded in front of us to get to our position in the low jack, meaning that the remaining 6 hands that haven't acted upon are stronger. And compared to the first example, there is no card removals yet because you're the first to act in a 6-handed game as a low jack. Okay, quiz 2. In the big blind, you should defend wider when facing a button raised first in a 3-max game, a button raised first in a 6-max game, or a button raised first in a 9-max game. Give you a second to think. You can pause the video if you want. All right. So the correct answer is we defend wider against a button raised first in a 3-max game. The reason for this is in a 3-max game, because there's been no card removal before that, the remaining ranges are all very wide, and the button's going to be opening up wider themselves. Therefore, we need to defend wider to counteract that. All right, that's all there is for this video on the buncher effect. Thank you for watching the video, and good luck next time you play.